Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Bob. How's it going?
If you guys follow our content, you'll probably know how nice it is to see this fresh snow up here.
Yep.
And we've been waiting for a good opportunity to do a longer review on the Nordica Unleashed 108, which Bob and I are both skiing right now. I'm on the 186, Bob, you're on the 191. We skied it last year. I've spent a lot of time on the 98. But it's really nice to get on these skis in some, I'd say, appropriate conditions. I would still like more snow, but this is pretty good.
Yeah, totally. Super smooth, just like that 98, but the added width just takes that stability to the next level.
It's a really cool ski.
Yep.
Yeah, for something this wide, I think it's like there's a lot of beneficial characteristics aside from just float.
Right.
Which sometimes when you get this wide, it's just like, yeah, they're cool, they float.
Oh, this is a sharp turner as well.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
Right. Good carver,
Yep.
nice round turns too. So we're up here near the Mount Mansfield snow stake. I'm going to chase Bob down with the camera this run, see what we can find. And it's just lovely up here. Like what a winter wonderland.
It is really nice.
All right, so we'll meet you back in the studio in a little bit, chat more about these skis, and Bob, let's go see what we can find.
Okay.
Okay, I'm coming with you.
Okay.
Hey skiers, here we are back in the studio, and boy, what a difference a week can make up there.
I think that these are like good luck skis for us between last year and this year.
Yeah.
We've gotten fresh snow each time. It's
Great
not
point.
not that, but it's fresh and it has recently fallen. So
Well, I've brought it up a couple times that I was excited to put this video together
Yep.
so that people out west had an opportunity to make fun of us and point fingers at our powder days.
well, to be fair, they might also not consider this to be a powder ski.
Totally.
So there's definitely a back and forth there.
Yeah, but been great to get some fresh snow, and you're right that first time we skied the ski last year still may be the deepest conditions that we've had it in, and you will see some footage of that too. But yeah, before we go any further, when Bob and I started putting this together, even when we filmed the intro that you just watched, we intended this to be a 2023 Unleashed 108 review. But since then, we've actually got the 2024 graphic right here. So I think that's really exciting. So before we talk construction and shape, this is it. This is your 2024 Nordica Unleashed 108. Just kind of stole/borrowed it from the Nordica crew yesterday.
Yep.
So got to ski it myself a couple days. So you'll see a little bit of footage of this ski. Does not change for 2024 aside from just this new top sheet graphic, which is very similar.
Right. Not a wholesale difference at all.
Yep. Pretty similar theme and concept and overall look, which, who knows? That means you might be able to pick up an Unleashed 98 or an Unleashed 108 at a discount towards the end of the season.
Right.
I don't know. That's major speculation, but this will be your new ski next year.
Yep.
So, Bob, before we talk performance, do you want to give us a construction refresher?
Sure, and I feel like we've talked about this a few times between the overview and then Unleashed 98. And
just talked about the women's 98 with Emily last week.
Which is the same build as this.
A little bit repetitive, but we might as well do it anyways.
Yep, all about the nuts and bolts here. We have a full performance wood core, basically an enforcer wood core. We're looking totally at like a Santa Ana construction in this ski.
Yeah.
So full performance wood core. We have 2 sheets of fiberglass that contain vertical carbon stringers in them, top and bottom of that core.
Yep, I think with the metal, sometimes people forget about the carbon.
Totally. And when that came out in, Enforcer a couple of years ago, we really noticed a real uptick in
Carbon chassis. When
the
went to
carbon chassis.
Yep.
Big uptick in the performance and the energy.
Yep.
So that follows through to Unleashed here. 2 layers, top and bottom, so quite a bit going on there.
Yep.
And then we get a sheet of terrain-specific metal. So we've seen that in Santa Ana. Kind of hard to tell where it goes from full width, but it does taper in through the mid portion of the ski. Does get a little bit wider underfoot.
Yeah, basically like the necessary width for binding retention.
Yeah, and then tapers back in towards the tail, and then full metal back into the tail. So a really interesting metal laminate. We see a lot of skis that are kind of going the opposite way of saying metal on the edges all the way through,
Yep.
and then kind of fading in the shovel. This is different. This is full metal in the shovel and in the tail. So, it's hard to separate that construction from the performance. Obviously, we'll get there, but that's a huge reason why this ski behaves the way it does, is this terrain-specific metal.
Yeah, I love having the full width metal in the tips and tails.
Totally. You can definitely feel the difference, especially in the stability of this ski.
Yeah.
As a wider 108 millimeter underfoot twin tip,
Freestyle twin.
Yeah. We're not really looking for this thing to be as stable as it is.
Yep.
But the defining characteristic in the construction of the ski is that metal.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, if you look at it on paper, you probably wouldn't expect it to have the strength that it has. And it's actually a really interesting comparison. And I think when you get up into this 108, it's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah.
But when you compare this to like Enforcers, it's not just black and white like Unleashed are weaker.
Right.
I think like overall they probably are, but there's some fairly major differences between these things that change their characteristics and personality. Like if you're going like direct comparison to Enforcer 110 with this thing, which I'd love to have that conversation a little later. I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, totally.
And I wanted to bring this scale in, Bob. I think you said we're 2,100 grams over here, about 2,200 grams over there. Let's
see. Oh, you've got
your... So what happens when the shipping department steals our scale, Bob? We're in pounds over here.
Yep. We gotta go back to metric.
I don't even know what... Like, how much does this ski weigh in pounds? I don't even know. Boy, you're real close. 2,100.
Oh, very, very close.
Yeah, so it's about 2,100 grams exactly in this 186. So it's not a lightweight ski.
No, and when we had the demo bindings on, and we're hiking around today, and kind of they're hard to shoulder.
Right.
It's a tough shouldering ski.
Right.
But
maybe not the best backcountry or side country ski, but certainly can do it. Especially those quick side country jaunts. And then
I want to see if this one
how accurate you are.
Yeah.
Bob, I would say you win some sort of award for accuracy.
Well, kudos to Nordica's website for posting correct weights. So 2,200 grams in the 191.
Yeah. So reasonably hefty skis, which is something that we've come to expect from Nordica in their resort-oriented skis.
Yep.
And it's not a bad thing.
Nope.
It just changes. It makes them different.
Yep.
Compared to a lighter ski. And then taking a look at shape here, big thing with Unleashed skis, they are 100% twin tips, and there's a ton of splay down there in the tail, but they actually have longer effective edge than Enforcers.
Right.
And I think that's something that might be counterintuitive if you're just looking at it in the catalog and where it kind of falls in how they're segmenting skis. Like this is more freestyle oriented. Yeah. And I could totally understand someone thinking more freestyle equals more rocker, softer, flexing, all that kind of stuff. And in this case, you would be wrong with the rocker. So there's really not a tremendous amount of tip rocker.
Yeah, it's definitely falls short in that, if you think of a free ride ski.
Right.
It falls short in the rocker department.
Right. Not in the performance necessarily.
Nope. It has an effect. It has a very specific effect, and that's the interesting thing about these.
Yeah. And then same is true on the tail. we get a ton of splay back here. Like if you looked at this next to an Enforcer, Enforcers have flatter tails with longer and more gradual rocker. So very much a twin tip. This is 100% a wide twin tip. And I think camber is really important to these skis. It might not be like the highest rise camber. I'd say we're looking at a couple millimeters per ski there, but the length is pretty substantial and I think pretty important to how they feel. And the story is basically the same with early taper. There's far less early taper in this ski compared to an Enforcer. So you get a longer effective edge, and I think that definitely comes through in performance. And Bob, what do you think? Let's start with soft snow feel, soft snow performance. What's the powder application here?
It's interesting because those characteristics that we just talked about don't necessarily equate to amazing powder performance.
Yeah, or at least certain elements to skiing powder.
Right. So the width helps it float. The lack of rocker in the tips and tails does not help it float. But it does kind of balance out with the flex of the ski. So that's what's separating this from either stiffer skis or skis with more rocker, is that this 108 actually bends really effectively. And so
nice round flex.
When you put it in soft snow, you're basically creating that rocker profile through the flex of the ski. So it doesn't feel like it's pushing down like, a more traditional twin tip. But it does feel like it is less drifty, smeary, slashy.
I think that's the big thing, And that's like where that Enforcer 110 comparison comes up, is that the Enforcer 110 and other skis with shapes more similar to that, like QST Blank would even be exaggerating that. Those skis are a lot more surfy and smeary in how they turn or how they just interact with softer snow. This is like responsive and kind of precise.
It wants to turn.
Fun.
It's a great turner. It's a sharp turner. It's crisp. For 108, like you're not usually saying those things about the ski. But certainly has that feel to it. That you can, when you put some input into it, it bends and reacts.
And it reacts pretty quickly. I think like you have the necessary float from the fact that the ski is 108 underfoot, but in a lot of ways it skis narrower. Which I think is, and I don't like, I feel like that could come across as a bad thing, but I mean it in a positive, in the sense that it's pretty quick edge to edge and easy to control. It doesn't feel like it's ever running away from you because it's so responsive.
And like, Enforcer 110, it's a pretty obvious comparison just because it's similar.
They're 2 millimeters off,
But like that thing has a whole nother sheet of metal in it. So like they're balancing the additional rocker with more metal. So you're gonna get that damper, smoother ride, but this thing is just more reactive and quicker to get into the turn and just carves a nice clean round turn. And like, when we had it in, what do we have? 5-6 inches today, something like that. You can actually still feel the ski like carve through that snow.
It interacts with whatever's underneath, but in a really positive way. Like sometimes when you're on a powder ski and you cut through 6 inches of snow and hit whatever's underneath, you're like, oh, that feels bad. Like the ski just gets bounced and deflected and just feels like wildly unstable. These, like, they still perform really well and they track really well. So I've come to realize that this 108 is not just good in soft snow, it's good in really variable snow, which is basically exactly what we have right now.
Like today was a great example of having that soft snow, more wintry up top, and just mashed potato glue at the bottom.
So you're encountering just about every type of snow from top to bottom.
And like, how impressed were you at the stability and damping of this ski? Like you're not getting on too many other 108s out there that behave like this in those conditions.
It gives you that confidence to just go straight through things. And I think I said that today. I was like, I was watching Candide ski last night. I'm just gonna go straight a lot today. And like this ski really supports that style skiing if you want to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's super fun as a powder ski.
Yep.
I think like if you love that surfy, smeary feel, you might want a different ski. But if you really like the idea of a snappy, fun, reactive powder ski, this is great.
Yeah. No, I brought up like Line Vision 108 and Fisher Ranger 108
As smearier.
in the written portion as smearier and driftier options
Yep.
in this width.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to me, like, how do two different like free ride twin tips feel so different?
Oh,
You know,
and vastly different.
Yeah, vastly different.
Like Vision is probably the polar opposite
Right.
to this ski. Softer and looser.
Yeah, and I just love that we can talk about both of those skis, and they're like the same basic width.
Right.
You know, so it's
Right.
always pretty interesting.
And
to
a
see
great
that.
example of like how it could be counterintuitive if you're just looking at them on paper.
Right.
Like you're like, oh, Vision 108 and Nordica Unleashed 108 must be very similar
Right.
skis
Yep.
because look at how similar they look.
Yeah.
When in reality, it really couldn't be. They couldn't be more different aside from the similarities in width and shape.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Sometimes like 108 feels like overkill for an East Coast powder ski. Like I've said it here before, like 102 Enforcer, like my Enforcer 104 free, that's essentially my powder ski, and like I love it, and I very, very rarely need more width here on the East.
Yeah.
But I thought because of how well this interacts with that firmer snow underneath, this could be a very, very reasonable choice as an East Coast powder ski. Obviously, great Western application here too. So one thing that really surprised us was how good it felt on groomers, which
Sure.
maybe wasn't like a huge surprise because we both really liked that Unleashed 98 on
Yeah.
a groomer. But I think the first time we skied them over the past week, I think we were just skating over to the lift and we were both like looking down at our skis and we're like, these look narrower than I remember.
Right.
And I thought that carried over to how they skied on groomers.
And like today on Perry Merrill,
Oh, it was
like
a dream.
you know, like groomed, and then maybe what, an inch of,
Yeah,
you know,
mashed potato.
yeah, but like soft.
Yep.
And that is really where you want this flex. I mean, your tip to tail
Yeah.
edge contact in the snow throughout the whole flex of the ski.
Yep.
And you're just getting such smooth and damp power out of it. And like really confidence inspiring. Like
Yep.
I can't think of a ski I would have rather had on Perry Merrill today.
This morning.
I
agree.
Like
And it's kind of
yeah.
nice, like, and I'm sure people are sitting there watching us thinking to themselves, like, well, that's ridiculous, because, like, you would want something quicker edge to edge. But I would argue that, particularly in the snow conditions we had today,
Yeah.
something narrower would have booted out.
Right.
Like, and that's what happens to me making turns like that, is when I am on a ski like this, I can't help but feeling and thinking to myself, like, there is zero limit to edge angle here.
Right.
Like I can literally put the ski up at a 90-degree angle and my boot's not going to come anywhere near the snow.
Yeah.
So I like that. And they're like, for a ski that's 108 underfoot, they're very snappy and
Right.
fun on a
Yep.
groomer. It's pretty wild. They do feel heavier and more sluggish to me compared to the 98.
Yep.
But of course they do. They're wider and heavier.
Wider and heavier.
So that's not like a profound statement
Yeah.
or finding.
And then it's a twin tip. You know, you go backwards on them,
All the time.
land backwards on them.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun stuff. Like it definitely opens that realm up too.
Yeah. I'd love it as a West Coast backcountry jump
Right.
ski.
Like probably not a resort park option.
No, no, I wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't actually be that much fun
Right.
because it's just too clunky and heavy.
Yep.
But backcountry jumps, just
Right.
ripping around the resort skiing switch.
Natural
Yeah.
natural hits.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
you've probably seen footage of people out west, and you know, I've seen a lot of inbounds jumps in Alta this year.
Right.
If you're riding lifts and can hit stuff like that,
Yeah.
this is, if not the top choice for me, it's right near the top choice.
Right. Not the best in swing weight. You know, when
Right.
when you're focusing the metal to the ends of the
Right.
skis, you're going to lose some of that rotational quickness. But
if you're hitting big backcountry jumps, swing weight doesn't really matter.
Right.
And if anything, it's kind of better to have some mass on your feet to slow you down and kind of adjust your spin rate.
And then landing, like you're getting a
so solid.
You're getting a solid ski.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's great for that.
No, it's pretty cool. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that at least I wouldn't put a touring binding on them.
No, I mean
I just can't help but think why.
Right.
And that there would be better choices.
Yeah. I mean hybrid.
Right.
Most.
Are there people out there with hybrid AT bindings on these? Yeah. I'm 100% sure the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Brooks Curran is one of those people. Brooks, are you there? If you are, let us know. But I don't think it's the best application for it.
No, certainly more of that resort, that lift-oriented, aggressive, fun-loving skier.
Love the idea of it with a pivot 15 or a pivot 18 and really like doubling down on its resort freestyle capabilities.
Yeah.
I thought mount point was something that we should touch on. If you're curious, you can go back and watch it in our 2023 Unleashed 98 review. I talked a lot about mount point possibilities. In theory, you could go as far forward on these, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't recommend it to others either, because I feel like when you get up into this width, the switch skiing is less important than the directional soft snow performance.
And we noticed too that it's harder to kick out the tails in a playful manner.
Yep.
If you're moving your boot forward, you're just adding more tail
Yep.
and more mass to kick out.
Well, and with the nature of this ski, it's already not like easy to do that. You know, we talked about how it's not really a surfy, smeary ski. So yeah, the further forward you push those bindings, the more you're going to exaggerate that limitation or challenge. Maybe it's not a limitation, but it's challenging.
Yeah. I appreciate the more directional mount point.
I do too.
Implemented on this ski for sure.
I do too. Where on the 98, I can't help but I just immediately want to move it forward.
Yeah.
Where on this, I don't have the same reaction at all, and I would say like +2 at the most.
Right.
And even then, like
I think you're asking for a whole lot of cambered tail.
Yeah, you're asking for it, right? But that's a lot of ski behind you and width and length and amount of camber.
Yep.
So, great ski, awesome. It almost feels like a nod towards old powder skis. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I brought that up too. Like I had like a Dynastar, I forget what it was, 115 millimeter underfoot twin tip, full camber.
Camber, right.
And that was the last time they made those.
Right.
Because it just dug right in.
Right.
And you couldn't get it to do anything. This was like before rocker was really.
Right. We're talking 15 years ago, probably.
Yeah, quite a bit. And like, that's kind of what I thought was going to happen on this. But it's different.
It doesn't, but it brings some, it gives me some nostalgia for like those style twin tips.
Yep.
So I kind of like that.
Yeah, me too.
So great ski, great job, Nordica. If you're interested in the 2024 ski, this is the graphic. I don't believe it's going to be available until next season. So you're still looking at this graphic for sale. So let us know if you have any questions. As always, more than happy to chat more about these skis. I'll probably try and log more days on them too.
Yeah, it'll snow if we ski on them. That's the rule. So we got to do it.
There have been other skis in other years where we have made that recommendation too. If you needed to ski, buy this ski. So yeah, if wherever you live, if you need it to snow, I think I said need it to ski. If you need it to snow, I'm not going to make any guarantees, but you should probably buy Nordica Unleashed 108.
I agree.
So let us know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.